Welcome back, algebra students, advanced algebra that is, to another video. Today we are going to explore something called the quadratic formula, a way to solve all quadratics by hand so that we can make maybe some of the more challenging ones a little bit easier. So again, using a second monitor over here, so if I'm not staring into the camera, that's why. I apologize for the glare off the forehead. It's late at night. Anyway, here we go. Quadratic formula. You're going to want to write this entire formula down right here. Right? And really, this is used to solve quadratics in standard form. Ax squared plus bx plus c. If we're looking to solve that, if it equals 0, we can use this formula. X equals the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over twice a. Yes, I have it memorized because I've been using it for 20 plus years. Pause the video and write that down. All right. Now, the couple things you want to make sure you know. First, we got to know how to use order of operations here. All right, we've got to perform everything underneath the square root sign first, like this radical square root sign is like its own set of parentheses. So we've got to figure everything out there first. And then I'll show you some steps on how to, we don't divide by 2a until the very end. That's kind of the last step. There's also some helpful hints, right? Step 1, whenever we're going to use quadratic formula, is to make sure that the equation equals 0. We can't solve. It's the same thing as factoring. We can't factor unless the equation equals 0. Step 2, I would identify what is A, what is B, what is C, so that you know you're plugging them into that formula correct. And step 3, you got to make sure you're solving it twice. You're adding this information together, that's one of the solutions, and then you're subtracting. Let's go ahead and take a look at what this might look like. Consider the following. 0 equals 3x squared plus 4x minus 4. Using no calculator, there's the quadratic formula. List the values of a, b, and c. All right, and hopefully, you could identify quickly that a is going to be 3, b is 4, and c is negative 4. Ax squared plus bx plus c. So there's those 4. Now we're going to substitute them into this whole quadratic formula so that we can find the solutions. The opposite of b, or negative 4, plus minus the square root of b squared, so 4 squared, minus 4 times a times c all over 2a, or twice a. All right, now we can treat the top and the bottom separately. We can do everything separately on the top and the bottom, and then we'll divide at the very end. Same thing with this plus or minus. We'll wait till the very end. If we're going to work, we have to work and complete everything underneath. Let me just circle that in. Oh, we'll go Christmas colors. We're going to do everything underneath first, following order of operations. So I get negative 4 plus or minus square root. If I'm using order of operations, exponents, we have to do all of the exponents. So that's 16 minus whatever these multiply to. 4 times 3 times negative 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times negative 4 is negative 48. All over that 2a, and again, I can do that to get 6. Now we've got to finish what's underneath the square root sign, right? We still got to finish what's underneath the radical square root. Negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus negative really turns into 16 plus. So 16 plus 48 is 64 all over 6. Now we still got to figure out what is the square root of 64, right? So negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 64 is really 8. The reason we have plus or minus is because it could have been positive 8 or negative 8, and that's all over 6. So we've broken it down as far as we can till we get to this plus or minus. All right, so I'm going to draw this little line here and show that we have to solve this twice. Negative 4 plus 8 all over 6, or negative 4 minus 8 all over 6. And then we're going to solve each one separately. Negative 4 plus 8, that's 4 over 6, or 2/3. Or we could get negative 4 minus 8, which is negative 12. Negative 12 all over 6 is negative 2. So write the answer way up here. X could equal 2/3, or X could equal negative 2. A lot of steps to follow for those two answers, but it would be almost impossible for us to get those as factors. Okay? Know this formula, know how to find A, B, and C. Let's go to look at one more problem. Solve 10x squared minus 13x equals 3 using the quadratic formula, no calculator involved. Well, first step, the equation doesn't equal 0. So we've got to make sure that the equation certainly equals 0 by subtracting 3. After we've done that, I would strongly suggest you always identify your A, your B, and your C. A is 10, B is negative 13, and C is negative 3. From here, let's see if we can't plug it into the quadratic formula and find any of those solutions. Pause the video and give it a try. Okay, I've gone ahead and filled it in. Opposite of B is going to be a positive 13 out front, plus or minus the square root of a negative 13 squared minus 4 times 10 times negative 3, all over twice 10. So positive 13 plus or minus the square root. 13 squared is 169. 169 minus 4 times 10 is 40. 40 times negative 3. 40 times negative 3 is negative 120. All over 20. All right, now we're going to keep going. 13 plus or minus the square root. 169 plus 120 gives us 289. The square root of 289 all over 20. Now, some of you may be wondering, right? Like, how am I really supposed to know what the square root of 289 is? Like, come on, Mr. G, that's just not fair. I get it. If you have to use your calculator to find the square root of 289 is 17, then go ahead and do it. I just did. And so that's okay. It's everything else that we have to make sure that we're doing by hand, right? By hand might include doing some of that part of the calculation. Okay, so 289 is 17. Now we've got to solve it twice. 13 plus the 17 over 20, as well as 13 minus 17 over 20. 13 plus 17 is 30, so we get 30 over 20, which really simplifies into 3 halves, 3 over 2. Or 13 minus 17 is negative 4 over 20, which is really negative 1/5. So we could say x could equal 3 halves or negative 1/5. And again, really weird answers that we probably wouldn't get if we tried to factor them. It's really important that you try the practice problems today on how to use the quadratic formula to make sure you understand the A, the B, the C, and the steps that are involved. If you have any questions, please make sure that you reach out. Otherwise, until next time, everyone, stay safe.